terrified of letting go. And it's this thing that's really the most powerful is judgment. Can you let go of your not can you let go of it, because forget about you can't let go of it. Let's just get that straight, okay? If you try to let go of your judgment, it won't work. Right? So I'll just tell you the truth right off the top. So you don't let go of it. But can you see that your judgment, our judgment, whatever our judgments are, have nothing to do with what's true and real? By the very nature of judgment, it couldn't have anything to do with what's true and real. It's literally not possible to have anything to do with what's true and real, because all of our judgments are some form or another of saying how things should be or how they should not be. Isn't that a judgment? Now, the one thing that's missing in how things should be and how things should not be is how they actually are. Now, which one of those do you think is more true? How things should be, how things shouldn't be, or how they actually are? Which one tends to win most often in your life? Like when you get up and you say, it shouldn't be raining, but it is. Does your judgment usually stop the rain? No, I haven't noticed either. So it's not so much of letting go of your judgment, because no one will let go of their judgment as long as they think it's true and necessary. Now, let me just say one thing, because I know there's always people, and it's a very rational, intelligent way to look at this, would say, wait a minute, to have no judgments is silly. No one can live without having judgments. Well, first thing I would say is, are you sure of that? Do you know that that's actually true? I mean, if someone comes to work and goes, hey, Joe, what do you think? Should we do it this way or this way? You might say, well, I think we should do it this way. That's not the way I'm using judgment, though. That's not the way I'm talking about judgment. You know? I'm talking about judgment in the way of being judgmental. And when I say judgmental, I don't mean it in the way that most people are used to hearing it. I'm not talking about this in a moralistic way. To judge isn't bad, and to not judge isn't good. Judgment just isn't true. It's neither bad nor good. It just isn't true. So if the way you think the world should be, it's not bad to think the world should be different than it is. It's just not true, because the world is the way it is. You ever noticed? It's just the way it is at any moment in time. So if you think the world should be a different way, but it's not, your judgment just, unfortunately, has nothing to do with what's true. If you think that the world shouldn't be the way that it is, unfortunately, your judgment isn't true either. If you think that somebody in your past shouldn't have been the way they were, unfortunately, you're at a desperate argument with what was. I've never met anybody in my whole life that ever won the argument with what was. You see? Yes, but see, that person never should have done that. Oh, but the problem is they did. Yes, but they shouldn't have, but they did. But they shouldn't have. But you see what I mean? Could you be miserable your whole life with just one of those judgments, just one? Yes, but you see, I can tell you why they shouldn't be that way, you see? Because they hurt 20 other people too. And I'd say, I understand then. I have lots of compassion for those other 20 people. But unfortunately, whatever happened is what actually happened. It starts to cut a little deeper to the bone, doesn't it? Especially when you go back in your past, because that's where most people are stuck. You know, most people never made it out of high school, as far as I can see. Really, that's why when you ask them, what do they dream about? You know, a 60-year-old guy is going, well, I dreamed about being in high school last night, you know. Well, probably because that's where your development stopped, you know. Not completely, but to a great extent. I don't know. I think adulthood is actually a pretty rare phenomena. You know, we think you hit a certain age and you're adult, but actually, really, doesn't seem to me that a whole lot of people actually make it there. You know, just to plain old adulthood. But nonetheless. But so you see how it's something, this one thing, just judgment. What shouldn't have been, what shouldn't be now. It puts you at odds with reality, with what is. And reality, by the way, means what is. Get rid of your abstract ideas of reality. Like reality is, you ever notice people's idea of reality? It's always like, tell me your idea of a reality. And they'll always go into somewhere. Does that make sense? They'll just go, God knows where they'll go. Don't ask me what reality is. I just might come up and knock you on the head. And when you go, ouch, I'll go, that's reality. That's what's real. The thing, where you're going, it doesn't exist. That's why you don't get there. You see? Do you see how we have these ideas of reality that are always other than here? Or whether we want to call it reality or heaven or nirvana, it's not here. But you keep bumping into here. Did you ever notice? You might go on a vacation from here. You might have a wild meditative experience and go somewhere else, seemingly. You might take a drug and seem to go somewhere else. Who knows? Lots of ways of kind of not being here while you're here. But you'll always end up here. You ever notice? All escapes are temporary. They're just furloughs, you know, they're just vacations. You always end up here. So just imagine that every judgment you've ever had that was opposed to what is, was, or what might be is just a way that you're arguing with reality. If you're religious, that's your argument with God. Now, who wants to let go of all that? I mean, you can. Mostly you can when you really see, not you think or someone like me says so, because that doesn't mean, that's relatively meaningless. But when you really see for yourself, it's really quite a shock to your system. It's not just an intellectual thing. It's not a philosophy. When you really see it, at the moment you really see it, it's quite a shock that my God, all of my judgments, none of them have any basis in reality. It's quite a shock to your system. Because only then do you realize you based pretty much your whole life on your judgments. You lived in a world of what should be and shouldn't be. What should be now, what shouldn't have been then. That's what it means when I say the dream state. That is literally to live in a dream. Life is happening. Most people are somewhere else. They're in the life that should be. But the life that should be is never the life that is. You ever notice? Never. So you take it to something personal, simple. We sit here like we did for 10 minutes, very, very short time just to sit in silence. Very, very short time to sit in silence. So if you sit down and you're just being silent, if you have any judgment going on your mind, it's going to bother you. It's not going to be easy to sit there. If you sit down and you go, gosh, my mind should be quieter. No, it's not quiet. That's what's true. Saying it should be isn't going to get you anywhere, is it? It's like, running into a wall and hitting your head and just going, it shouldn't be here, so I'm going to run into it again. And it hurts. Damn it, it shouldn't be here. I'm going to run into it again. You wouldn't do that, would you? Why is it that you keep arguing with all the other things that you think should be? Isn't it the same? Do you get the feel of this? when you really, it's quite a shocker